This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. My guest today is Steve McGough, the president and chief financial officer of HCSS, a Texas-based software company that since 1986 has specialized in developing software to help heavy highway and utility construction industry companies streamline their business operations. The firm works with more than 4,000 of the best construction companies in North America, including most of the top 25 in Engineering News and Record magazine's top heavy civil contractors. Topics we cover today include Steve's involvement in I Build America, a national movement focused on building pride in the construction industry, educating the public about the value of construction, and recruiting the next generation of construction professionals. We also cover why construction companies struggle with technology adoption and how to manage a successful technology implementation. We also discuss how to build a great culture by benchmarking the behaviors of your most successful people and using those characteristics to guide who you hire and retain. And we also discuss the importance of infrastructure spending and how construction companies can influence policy on the local, state, and federal level. And finally, Steve reveals the best restaurant in Sugar Land for fajitas and margaritas, an unbeatable combination in anyone's book. So enjoy this interview today with Steve. He was very generous with his time. We dive into a lot of interesting topics directly related to running a successful construction business. I appreciate you listening to Construction Genius. Feel free to give us a review and a rating wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, share the episode and the podcast with other construction pros. Thanks very much. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Eric.
As the president and CFO of HCSS, I know that you all provide software solutions like Heavy Bid and HCSS Safety to the construction industry. With your 30 plus years of experience in the business, as you look at today's construction environment, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing our industry?
You know, Eric, I'm often asked this question and I always answer it the same way. It's our workforce. But you look, we have, more than 7 billion people alive. The total U.S. workforce is about 130 million. And out of that, 10 million of them are in the construction workforce. So how can we have a workforce shortage? But, it's pretty clear we have an available workforce, but not a qualified workforce. And if you look at the last two AGC of America surveys, the percentages of firms that were having trouble finding craft workers in 2017, it was at 70%. By 2018, it was already to 80%, and the outlook for 2019 isn't any better. And I know for the contractors listening to your podcast that that's not news to them, but it's not just limited to the field. In a study in USA Today, the fastest growing construction jobs based on job postings from 2014 to 2017, the need for chief estimators, at least posting-wise, was up 101%. Superintendents, 122. Pre-construction managers, 126. And project managers, a whopping 277%. And it really doesn't appear to be slowing down. So it's obvious to me we're going to have to work with the talent pool that we have. It just can't expand fast enough to keep up with demand.
Why do you think it is that getting that workforce is such a challenge for the construction industry?
I think that in a large part, the challenge just has to do with what people's perceptions are. I know that ENR did a study a few years back looking at the top 250 professions that both middle school and high school students were looking at. Being in the software business was up in the top 10. Construction was like 247 out of 250. That people get the perception that it's just about boots on the ground, but some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life came out of construction. Great problem solvers, and some of the most dedicated people to the industry. And a lot of it also has to do with the age. You know, most of the challenge that we have is generational. Most of the people that you're going to hire are going to be millennials or Gen Zs. And, you know, while they want technology at work, more importantly, they want to work for a company that has a purpose. They want to be working for something that's bigger than themselves. And that's different than the baby boom generation that I grew up in.
What do you think are some of the things that the construction industry can do to shift those perceptions? Because like you say, construction can be extremely rewarding. It's a place for a whole breadth of people to participate. So what do you think those construction companies need to do to address these challenges?
I think we're going to have to get to people a lot earlier in their work, long before their working careers. If you look, even at HCSS, we launched 5 years ago a movement that we hope will develop a life of its own. It's called I Build America, and at its core, it's meant to instill a sense of pride and respect in the men and women who get up and go to work in construction every day, to educate or to let the public know that it's construction that gives us our modern way of life. And this really touches on the points you're getting to. It's meant to attract this next generation of younger workers, that they'll look to construction as a place to find a rewarding and meaningful career. But I think it's going to take getting to them all the way down in the elementary and middle school age. And it's not just about getting to the individual. It's about getting to the parents. We went through a whole generation where people felt like that the only way into great jobs was to put people into college. And a lot of our vocational and trade schools really went by the wayside. I think that people realizing that there are rewarding careers in construction and making that information available to them. I know that, you know, there's a number of websites, but even on the I Build America websites, there's career path, there's potential jobs that you could be doing in construction. And I think it's just a matter of educating not only the individual, but educating the parents that they actually look towards construction as well.
Yeah, it's essential. You know, it's interesting. And I'm going to link to I Build America in the show notes. I noticed that there's a variety of different ways that you can get into the business that you guys have outlined here, from apprenticeship to community college to going to university, all the way to getting a 4-year degree. So how is it, do you think, that construction companies can practically use a structure like this to attract and develop talent?
Well, first, I would encourage all of them, if they don't have a strong construction intern program where they actually can get people in early, they're probably missing the boat. And usually, you're catching those people whether they're in the community college, 4-year university, or even coming out of some of the trade schools, to where they can come in and intern with you. It's a great place for you to look at individuals and for them to look at you. And, you know, a key is also, from an organization standpoint, what are they seeing when they come into your office? What are they seeing on your website? Do you look 21st century, or do you look like you're stuck in 1975? And I can tell you, sometimes it takes a fresh set of eyes for someone to walk through your workplace and take a look. Because in a lot of cases, this next younger generation wants to look and work in an organization that's using technology, that looks state of the art, that's involved in social media, and in a lot of cases, we're not doing a good job of taking that seriously.
You've been in the business for over 3 decades. How have you seen the construction industry change in that time?
Well, for myself personally, probably the biggest change that I've seen is in the safety arena. I talked to you a little bit about I Build America, but when we're trying to engage or let our younger people know, because we hire a lot of first and second job type individuals, and when they're looking for a purpose, we rally around our safety software, because we know, given the size of our customer base, that if we're successful in getting that software into our customers' hands, we're going to have a huge impact on sending a lot of people home safely every day. But I look back, if you ask what's changed for me in 30 years, I was recently moving and a couple of years back, and I found a paper that I wrote when I was in college called The Changing Times in Construction Safety. And when I looked through it, Eric, I was shocked, because every bit of the table of contents was around OSHA compliance, safety compliance, and what could happen to you if you weren't following these rules. Nothing in it at all was written about sending people home safely every day. And ultimately, that's our job to do that. And I think that is the biggest shift that I've seen, at least in, short of just a lot of the technology, but it's just really the attitude around safety. And some of the best run companies, the focus that they put on their safety culture and how committed they are to it. And I will tell you, if you look out a number of years from now, people that don't have that culture, that aren't actively engaged in safety, will either be out of business, or their good people will be working for people that have those types of safety cultures. And to me, that's the biggest.
The safety portion of your software offering is one part of your business. You also have the heavy bid part, which over 50,000 estimators use in the country. And I was noticing on your website, the largest job ever won from that using heavy bid is a $3.9 billion project out in New York, huh?
Yeah, there's some mega projects that have been obviously won with the software. When you look at technology, it's still, our estimating software, Heavy Bid, is still usually the first product that people when they're starting their business or they're moving off of spreadsheets into a software package. It's still usually the first product that people start with. If you looked, because it makes the biggest impact, they get more consistent estimates. But if you look at it from probably three core products, if you looked at it from a company that has to win the project, so they have to have the estimate.
Yeah.
If they want it, and they're going to transfer that budget down to the field level to the foreman to run the project, actually, and capturing those productions and doing his safety meetings and everything that's easily transparent across the organization. But the key is the flow of those actual productions, meaning your productions as a contractor, back into the estimating software. So when you're bidding your next job,
yeah,
you're bidding off of your productions, not something out of a blue book or something that your estimators are guessing at, or it's old information. That's where people really get the efficiencies in their organization.
What is your view on the general attitude of the construction industry towards technology adoption? Is that something that people are eager for? Is that something they struggle with?
Well, there's no doubt that if you looked across the industry of construction in general, we tend to be technology laggards. We aren't out leading the way. If you look at the vast majority of companies that can utilize software to be efficiently, you can be a multi-billion-dollar organization that has been around for 100 years, and you have your practices that are set in your ways, and this is how you've made money, and you're still capable of making money. And it usually takes a little bit of a slowdown at times in the economy for the big guys to step in and purchase technology. On the other extreme of that, you have people that are just starting their business. It's the owner, and his first big step is when he has to put on a foreman to run another job, and now he's running one and they're running one, and at some point there's the tipping point where they have to dabble in technology to even to finish their projects. But it's taking those next steps where you're actually tracking your productions against your crews and being able to utilize that information to hone your estimates in that much tighter to win that much work. It's that cycle, that flow of.
What do you think the biggest mistakes are construction companies make when they're adopting a new technology?
I think that it's not just construction companies. I think it's across the board. We're guilty of it even in our own business, and that is assuming that we can self-implement or take a less focused approach. And I say that because you can imagine in our business, we're seeing customers every day, every week, the business practices and the processes and the workflows. We have that innate knowledge of how the software best works. That's one, Eric. The other one, and I think some of the best companies do this when they implement software, they ask themselves, if we weren't currently doing it this way, how would we do it? Meaning that if you have a system in place where you've had pen and paper processes, and this is the workflow, the worst thing you can do is to take that existing workflow and try to jam that into a software package or workflow. You should be able to take a fresh approach, take some of those steps out. You want to take steps out, and that's how you clean up the efficiency. That's how you free up people that were currently taking time cards and hand entering them into the system. And now that work's not there anymore, and you have the chance to repurpose those people to better your business. So I think those probably the two, self-implementation and then the fact of trying to take existing processes and make them fit into a software process instead of stepping back and looking at things fresh. If we weren't doing it this way, how would we do it?
Let me just summarize that, just because I think there's some insights there. When you are thinking about implementing a technology, you have to be willing for that fresh approach, either adding or taking away parts of the processes that you're currently using. Getting that outside help is absolutely essential in terms of the implementation, particularly because, obviously the outside help should have experience in using the software. And then I hear a lot here about the need for a real sense of discipline and focus. Being willing to track carefully what it is that you're doing so that you're getting the right information into your software system so it isn't just garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. Taking the time on the front end to get it set up right is critical.
What do you think is the most important focus for the construction industry in terms of working with the government agencies and the political side of our country in terms of moving the construction industry forward?
Well, I think that ultimately we're going to have to address infrastructure spending. It's something that I'm pretty passionate about. I'll be the incoming chairman of the American Road and Transportation Builders Association this month. And last year, I met with Secretary Chow and really laid out that we don't want to be waiting to 2020 when the current bill expires, because the last time that we saw this, we saw states start pulling some of their projects back the prior summer, and short-term extensions aren't going to get it done. And Eric, this is the greatest, probably one of the better opportunities that we've had to get a permanent fix in place. The Senate Highway Reauthorization Bill, the America's Transportation Infrastructure Act, to me is living proof that bipartisan still lives on Capitol Hill, at least on transportation policy issues. The Environmental Public Works Committee approved it unanimously, 21 to nothing on July 30th. And more importantly, the bill represents the first program reauthorization bill in nearly 15 years that would significantly increase federal investment in highway safety and mobility improvements. So there's a lot of work that needs to happen because the House still has to consider its version. But we're urging the House to move on it. And to me, more importantly, final passage of an infrastructure bill gives the members of Congress and the Trump administration the ability to deliver on infrastructure investment promises that they've been making since the 2016 election. So from my standpoint, I would encourage the other industry professionals to contact their senators and tell them to, support the passage of the bill. Remind them that, new user fees are probably going to be necessary, and we need to permanently fix the Highway Trust Fund. I think it's critical because it's not just about fixing the trust fund. It's about what's next for our country. We've been living off our parents and grandparents' efforts from back in the original interstate system. We've done nothing in a big way to maintain it or expand those road miles. And I just think as a nation, to be competitive, we're going to have to do it.
In California, as you probably know, we recently defeated the attempted repeal of SB1, which is closely tied to the infrastructure, and that was as a result of a concerted effort from both sides of the political spectrum in terms of the construction industry and other organizations bringing to bear that pressure to make sure that those funds stayed available for that infrastructure change.
And you guys in California needs it. I know that there's been times where they struggled to get out of trucks out of Long Beach port because of traffic. So it's critical that we don't just put our head in the sand and wait for structures to fail to move the country into action. It's time to do something on our infrastructure.
Now, it's interesting because earlier we were talking about the importance of culture in a company, and you being a construction industry vet, a baby boomer, you're very conscious of the need to bring Gen Z and millennials into your organization. And perhaps as a software company, it's easier maybe for you to have that perspective. And yet, how do you encourage construction companies to look at the new generation, particularly when you find a lot of, Gen Xers or baby boomers kind of complaining about the millennials and the Gen Z folks?
Things are going to change in the workplace. And I think that we just, in general, have to embrace this next generation. And I would say, I think they get a bad rap in a lot of ways. I think we're going to have to change our perspective on them because we're not going to succeed the same way with them that we, succeeded with the baby boom generation. They expect different things. They expect a pretty flat organization with open doors. They expect your organization to be involved in the community and give them the ability to volunteer. I will tell you one thing they don't take well to is that's the way we've always done it.
Yep.
They bring a lot of fresh ideas. And here's one that I think that catches a lot of people off guard. They don't want to work normal hours. And don't get me wrong, in construction, I get it that there's a lot of times that there's a start and finish time. And when I say that, I'm saying that they want to engage you and work almost as if the same way they engage and work with their friends, meaning they want you to be available. They might be working at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. They might be working on the weekends on their stuff. And if they text you or call you, you need to be available. And I think that was something that took, that at least on my end, took a little bit getting used to. But if you're available, it's important. And just the last thing is you got to challenge them and give them the freedom to make mistakes and providing them meaningful work. It's a combination of creating a culture they want to join, onboarding them, figuring out what motivates them and challenges, changing your perspective. And I think any and all of that needs to be well thought out based on how it fits your company.
I know you work with a lot of heavy civil folks, and we're recording this at the beginning of September, and this is kind of the hot and heavy months for civil folks. I know my clients who are in that industry, the PMs and the superintendents, they're working, 10, 12-hour days at this time of year. How would you recommend contractors balance that need for adhering to a tight schedule in the busy seasons with the Gen Zs and the millennials' desire for a little more flexibility?
If the work has to be done, they'll be there. They'll be there to do it. But you can't always have them under the gun year in, year out to get projects finished. You have to be able to. They've got to be able to have some downtime. And I know that that in the throes of getting things done, you have to do it, but you also have to respect and be able to be more flexible than probably have been in the past.
Now you've been with HCSS for what, 15 years now?
That's right.
And in that time, what kind of growth have you guys experienced?
Well, from an organization, tremendous. There was around 40 individuals in the organization when I joined. Now we're up over 350. We're on 12 acres on our Sugarland campus. We're just broke ground a few weeks ago on our third building. We're adding on. We're putting a 55,000 square foot building in and a 3-story parking garage. It would be the last building on this plot of land, but we do have some land back behind us. And if we continue to grow, we do have some additional alternatives. But, when we started, it was just an estimating software. And we were way ahead of the curve on our job costing software that really sits between the field and your accounting system, that gives the foreman the feedback on how they're doing on their productions, whether they're meeting budget or under budget. But we released that in 1998. And to tell people in 1998 that your foreman would be entering their daily diary and their time cards and their quantities into a laptop, which looked like the size of a small suitcase, it just was hard to fathom. But that's what I'm saying. We've never shied away from sticking to something. Our whole goal is to handle everything operationally for a contractor, with the exception of their accounting. And we tie to 35, 40 accounting systems from QuickBooks to SAP. So anything that you've been doing in a manual process, our goal is to automate that. And we currently have, I guess, close to 15 products now that fit that bill.
When you go from 40 to 350 individuals, there's obviously a need for different kinds of focus. So what did you do to get through that growth curve?
It was a challenge because, as I'd mentioned earlier, most of our employees, it's their first or second jobs out of school. We do a good job of recruiting and bringing people in that way. As we've grown, we saw a need to develop people from a leadership standpoint, not just a management standpoint, but real leaders in the company.
As you're growing the business, how do you make sure that you're attracting the right types of people to your organization when you're in that rapid growth phase?
Well, for us, there's two things that we look for, and there's a reason that we look for. We look for aptitude and we look for attitude. They're just as equally as important for us. Usually by the time someone interviewing gets to myself, I'm looking at the attitude. I want to see if the person has passion, and it really doesn't matter if they're passionate about something at work or outside of work, but they need to be passionate about something in their life, or they're going to come to our organization and be a mediocre employee. They've got to be resourceful, and we like people. Some of the best people we have what I would call grit. And, grit for me is nothing more than I got knocked down and I got back up and, went through some tough scenarios, whatever that might be. And usually that works out. We've been fortunate that our culture is pretty self-policing. Usually, nobody makes 100% perfect hires, but if we have some that we didn't, it's usually our own employees that are bringing it to our attention, not the managers or other people of departments. So for us, we've been fortunate and purposeful, but when I talk to companies and on hiring, my take ultimately is this: look in your own organization, figure out who your best employees are, figure out what those traits are, and look for those same traits in your hiring process. For us, we're looking for friendly and helpful people because we're convinced that where most companies you would say that for a software company that, oh, well, your software is core to your business. And I would tell you, not us. Don't get me wrong, Eric. We have to have innovative, great software. But what's core to our business is our technical support. Our customers know that if they have an issue 24 hours a day, the phone rings, 3 rings or less, someone's going to answer it directly to the person that can help them. They're not buying our software, additional products, or moving to another company and bringing us with them because we have the best accounting department or marketing department in the business. It's our technical support. That's what's core to us. That's what gives us a competitive advantage. That's what differentiates us from our competitors. And so I always tell people, what's core to your business? What are the traits of your best people? Hire for that. If you do that, you're going to be able to scale your business up with those types of people, and you can never get in trouble at HCSS for taking care of the customer.
That right there is so essential, to understand yourself as a business and to then discipline yourself to hire people who fit who you guys are. That right there is essential.
And I think that crosses all industries, but you have to know what those traits are. Anybody that's working in an organization now has their stars in their organization.
Yep.
Sit down and talk to them. Figure out, if we were hiring someone that looked just like you, what traits would we look for? If you hire more people like that, you'll be in a better position.
What are the actions the most successful construction companies that you work with take in terms of making their companies attractive to the folks that they're looking to bring on board?
One of our customers, Carolina Bridge, I think is doing an excellent job of attracting that next generation, but more importantly, getting very specific about their core, what they're looking for. They recently had a post up on LinkedIn about, you might be a great fit for us and they listed 8 or 10 things that were specific. And so if you're someone that fits 6 of those 8, it's your core personality and what you really want out of a career, and the current company you're in only fills 1 or 2 of those needs, they might get a good shot at seeing someone like that.
You've had a long career in the business. What would you, on your retirement day, if you do ever retire, what would you want your legacy to be as far as the impact that you've had on the construction industry?
Well, I think we hit on it earlier. If for myself, if there was any legacy, it would be the impact of our safety software. If we continue to be successful with it, our customer base is large enough that it would have a tremendous impact on the industry. That's one. The second, I know that ARTBA has a safety certification program that is really geared, unlike any other. It's for the safety professionals, but just as important, it's for the other members in the field. It's for the leader of your crew, the foreman, the superintendent, the project engineer. I firmly believe that safety starts in the field. And so if we can get our software out into the field, into the safety manager's hands, and they produce a better program, change the culture in a lot of companies, and we send people home safely every day, if I could walk away with that being a success, I'd be pretty happy.
That's awesome. I'd like to ask my guests one last question here. If I'm visiting Sugarland, where you guys are at, what is your favorite place to take someone to eat?
Favorite place to take someone to eat is going to be El Tiempo Restaurant. It is a Mexican food restaurant that probably has some of the best fajitas, margaritas that are around. So that's usually our go-to place.
Combining the fajitas with the margaritas is always helpful.
Always helps.
Awesome. Well, Steve, I really appreciate your time today, the insights. I made a bunch of notes here myself, and I'll make sure that those are included in the show notes. And I do wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Construction Genius. Hope you found that 1% of inspiration to help you in the next few days. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, share it with other construction leaders who you think would benefit, and always remember that the show is brought to you by Kick-Ass Meetings. I've been working with construction leaders since 2004, teaching them how to run extremely effective problem-solving meetings that gets their people collaborating, taps into their creativity, and to get yourself a free copy of the Kick-Ass Meeting Report, go to www.ericanderton.com/kickassmeetings. Grab yourself that free report, read it, use it in your business. You'll find it extremely useful. And thanks again for listening.